Well, I think they're beautiful, and obviously a big contrast to the historic and iconic offices which you've left. But I think obviously from a working point of view, it's a marvellous place to work, and it will be very much welcomed, I'm sure, by your many employees. The paper business is always very challenging, but I think that the Belfast Telegraph in particular as a title is iconic in terms of Northern Ireland, and people always identify with it as a paper for Northern Ireland, and they will always relate to it in that way. So I think this is a new step forward for the paper, and obviously taking over some of those other titles that we've learnt about as well, sort of the top 100 business and what have you, is very, very significant, I think. Well, my mother was from Belfast, and always liked to get the Belfast Telegraph to keep in touch with what was going on at home. When we lived in Fermanagh, it was almost like a bit of a lifeline for her. And then, of course, the Ireland Saturday Night, which my father always religiously purchased because he was a real football fan. He was a Lisbon distillery man, so he always liked to keep in touch with that. Well, I do look at it online digitally, but I still like to check it in my hand. I'm a bit of a retro fan when it comes to papers and books. I do like to still hold on to the paper. Well, it's certainly not about me today, thankfully. It's not about me writing the headlines today. It's about the Belfast Telegraph, and it's a very significant date, I understand, as well, the 1st of September, because that's the date when it all started.
Today, as Richard said, the 1st of September is a hallmark day in the history of Beltel, as it was on this day in 1870, which must be 146 years ago, as you said, that the first Belfast Evening Telegraph was published by William and George Baird and launched at an elaborate lunch in Belfast. Where's the lunch? On a day which coincided with the announcement of the capitulation of Napoleon at the Battle of Sedan. The leading article of that day, in the 4-page article, set out the paper's objectives. Today, we might call it the editorial charter. And I think, Gail, you will agree that it still stands the test of time. And I quote, "We have resolved that the people of Belfast and every town in Ulster will have facilities for obtaining prompt information upon the general events of the day. We shall take care that nothing shall appear which can offend the sharp edge of morality. By the diversified selections which we have found in our columns, the current intelligence of the day will be ascertained, and in the paragraphs of light literature which we will insert, every reader will find a source of pleasure and instruction. We have engaged a competent literary staff, and the reports and proceedings of the meetings will be found to be faithful and impartial." End of quote.